Okay, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Gottschall. I'm the Lower Paxton Township Manager, and in typical fashion, I'm going to give a brief summary of this evening's agenda, particularly for the benefit of those who may be watching at home on television. So it is a short workshop agenda of the Board of Supervisors, and they have three items to consider this evening. The first being a presentation of Resolution 23-14 and the 2023 Dauphin County Emergency Operations Plan. So the board will entertain that presentation. Next, the board will take action to approve change order number 4 from Mackmore Construction LLC for the 2020 Township Drainage Improvements Project. And then following which the board will take action on the final applications for payment number 8 and 9 for Heroes Grove Amphitheater Project Phase number 3. With all that said, members of the board are seated and prepared to conduct business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gottschall. We'll call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Supervisors to order. Supervisor Zumas will lead us in the pledge. If you'd please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Zumas. We have no minutes to approve tonight. The Board of Supervisors did meet in executive session prior to this meeting and will do so following. We now have time for public comment. Public comment is for any item not on the agenda. If you are here to discuss something on the agenda, we'll have public comment on that item at that time. Would you like to speak under public comment? If you'd please come to the podium, ma'am, and give us your name and address.
My name is Carol Appleby, 7040 Beaver Spring Road.
Is her microphone on?
Yeah, the green light's on.
Okay, if you get a little bit closer to the...
Carol Appleby,
thank you.
There we go.
7040 Beaver Spring Road. I'm here to talk about the trash, not necessarily to complain, but I understand the increase. I understand the costs are going up. I rarely have more than a half a bag of trash. I know there are many people in this situation, but anyway, my neighbor and I were going to share the service, the cans, and the fee. And then I found out we can't do that because there's an ordinance that every single family home must participate at full price. That made sense to me under the old system where we had the option of per bag. But after a 62% increase and the elimination of the per bag charge, just seems a bit harsh. I'm just asking that you would reconsider finding some way perhaps to allow people to maybe share a fee. That's pretty much it. I just want to ask you to consider that.
Okay, well, thank you. Yes, that has been suggested before.
Okay.
The issue is we had a bid situation and we signed a contract that requires that. So
That's part of the contract.
that's sort of where we are. Our thought is, since there's been a lot of change with this new contract, that we will allow things to sort of settle in for a year or so. Then we'll take a look at how it's going. But at the moment, that's not really an option we have.
Okay, so we're
Although we certainly understand the sentiment that you're
it's
expressing.
pretty drastic for some households.
Yes.
So appreciate you listening, and I'll wait for a year.
Oh. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Anybody else have a comment? Mr. Minsker, no comments tonight? Okay. With that, we will now go to Resolution 23-14 and the 2023 Dauphin County Emergency Operations Plan. And Director Kashiba, good to see you this evening.
Same to you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So the manager asked myself and Mr. Palm to come and talk a little bit about the plan that routinely gets adopted here, but we need to just add a little context to it, put a little framework to all of you, especially those out in the public, so they understand what we're adopting and why. So That's what we're here to talk about. It is the Dauphin County's emergency operations plan. One may ask, well, why the county plan? Why are we adopting it? The long and short of it is we have the ability within the Dauphin County plan to adopt that without reinventing the wheel. This creates framework that essentially any municipality, to include the county because it's their plan, can adopt this framework, deal with the framework to handle any kind of emergency that may arise within, specifically within Lower Paxton Township. So what is it? The purpose and scope of this is to coordinate emergency responses. As you see on the left-hand side there, it's an all hazards plan. So what does that mean? There's everything covered from the pandemic, which Ralph's going to talk about, that we utilize this plan and the National Incident Management System to framework and deal with our pandemic response here in the township. Hazardous materials to fire explosions, and commonly seen in major weather events is where you really see it. But a whole gamut of different things that we can roll this plan out for and take a look at what kind of resources out there. And again, it's an all hazards plan, and it's the protection of life and property, whether that's through, whether we're dealing with something through a natural disaster like a weather event or a human caused disaster such as a major explosion at the result of human hands or a fire. The hazard vulnerabilities and hazard mitigation is all part of that. So what are we doing to recognize that we have a flooding problem? Luckily here we have maybe some localized flooding on roadways. We don't have any major streams and flooding such as that to deal with. Environmental hazards, hazmat releases. We have the interstate, so we know how to framework and deal with our interstate. And again, last bullet point there on the right is the any kind of pandemics that we may encounter, which we did in 2020. So the concepts of the plan. Essentially, this entire plan follows the National Incident Management System. Some of those of us that have been around for quite some time is the Incident Command System. It's essentially the same thing. It's a framework for the national handling of major incidents. All disasters started on municipal level. That's the way it is in the Commonwealth form of government. It all starts at the municipal level, which myself, as the Director of Public Safety, and Ralph in the EMA are here to deal with and direct. And the next level, if our resources here move beyond what we're capable of handling within this township, and we're capable of handling a lot, as we've learned, we seek out the assistance of county. In this particular case, Dauphin County's Emergency Management Association, for any resources they may be able to supply us. And then, of course, state assistance is next through PEMA, and those are pretty large events, and then federally funded assistance.
So the next component to that, and by the way, good evening. It's good to see everyone. Good to be back.
Good to see you, sir.
Continuity of operations planning. Simply put, we have a notification and resource manual which acts as our continuity plan. And whether you know it or not, we actually have all the supervisors, everybody in the township within the various departments listed within our continuity of operations in that manual, should we need to go into operational periods and so forth, so we can immediately get a hold of people. It gives us guidance and direction to who those folks are, and we can immediately reach out to them. Also, with regards to the setup of our emergency operations center downstairs in the training room, this all comes together and is put into place down there. Okay. So the responsibilities, as Director Koshiba mentioned, the municipal EMA, we are the lead authority for disaster operations in the township. It establishes and maintains municipal emergency operations center, which most are familiar with, and that is in our training room downstairs, and we can quickly establish that and set up. It prepares plans, establishes disaster training as needed as we look at that, and it advocates to build relationships not only with the local level but the county, the state, and sometimes the federal levels as well, tabletop drills and so forth. But that covers the responsibilities. The types of emergency declarations that we see and we've been familiar with. through the pandemic at the local level was set by township manager. You adopted it and so forth. But the county also declares, as well as the state, and if the state feels so compelled, then federally, federal disaster declaration is called upon and enacted, which we did through the pandemic. Is this yours?
So municipalities have within that plan, within the Dauphin County plan, municipalities adopting the county plan have the ability to do a multitude of things, but where does that come from? Where does it give this township the ability to do that, and why do we have to do that? So each municipality must have a plan. So either we have to develop our own plan, or we can adopt the county plan, that framework from the county plan. That comes under Title 35 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes. That's Section 7101 through 7707. Quite lengthy, but it essentially says you have to have a plan. PEMA encourages the regionalization of these types of plans. So through that encouragement, they sort of nudge you in the direction of adopting a regionalized plan, which is the county plan. It's still, we can go off course if we wish and have our own plan. Some municipalities do that. Local EMCs or emergency management centers have to be established. We've done that. We practiced that through TMI. The municipality will notify or maintain a notification and resource manual. Mr. Palm does that. Downstairs routinely checks that. Functional checklist is, we often saw that when we were doing our TMI drills. We established the checklist as the event comes out. So if we have a major type of event that we don't normally deal with, we will control the checklist. And quite frankly, those checklists are going to occur on a dry erase board downstairs so that we can modify them and adapt them and see them in front of us as we move. The Township EMC will coordinate all disaster awareness and citizen preparedness. So Mr. Palm has the ability to push out some documents and remind the township residents that certain things that they can do during a disaster. So with that, I kind of summed it up rather quickly for you, but again, it's framework that handles just about everything in the pot, so to speak, and then you have to rely on that framework, whether it's through the county or your own plan and your individual emergency service providers, such as myself, the fire chief, and Ralph, to handle the incident. So any questions about that?
Director, can we independently declare an emergency, or must we wait for the county to do so first?
So you can start at the township level, and based on a plethora of things, weather is a very common one. You can declare an emergency based on snowstorms or icy road conditions, that sort of thing.
Is there anything new in this plan that we should know about?
The only thing that they've done new is just update some of the pieces of it, but there's no major chunks of information within the plan. Interestingly enough, the boss, the manager, had brought this to my attention. I saw it in there. This plan that you will adopt tonight will ultimately take effect in November, I think, or December of this year. That other plan that was previously adopted will be in effect until this officially takes effect at the Dauphin County realm. But through the adoption of this plan tonight with that vote, we can use either, which again, there's no major differences.
So Adam, so we can do a disaster, you said, ourselves, and then the county could also do their own one without contacting PEMA?
Yes. So in our Commonwealth form of government, each to the lowest form of government, you can develop your own, and the county, and usually see suit unless it's a localized problem. We saw it with, for instance, with the snowstorm, the blizzards that occurred many years back, the individual counties in those areas that were most impacted along the turnpike, they activated and declared emergency, activated their EOCs. PEMA then activated, as did that county. So it kind of ramped the whole way up in those situations.
So if we declare an emergency, can we have special funding to support it?
Ralph, you want to answer that?
If it becomes available through the county, the state, the federal levels, that's usually not known, like funding.
I mean, just the township has an emergency. We declare an emergency. Do we have any access to funding to support that?
And what type of funding specifically?
To support medical supplies, to support,
So logistically with supplies, if we need things, we would, if we don't have it, which we probably wouldn't have a lot of that stuff, and during the pandemic, was an example of that, we would ramp that up to the county, and the county would then go out within their resources, their caches and stockpiles, to see if they have, and if they don't, they'd go to the state. So that's almost always a guarantee. If we ramp it up, we don't have it, we've exhausted our possibilities, that they get supplies and assets elsewhere. So that's...
Mr. Zumas, with regard to this as well, just to add to that a little bit, the township will guarantee to not receive funding if it does not declare an emergency. So if there are funding streams that become available from FEMA then to PEMA, in order for us to take advantage of those streams, if they do become available, we must declare an emergency. So to better help explain that a little bit.
Yes, agreed. And we have those type of things in place with our different emergencies, pandemics, people tracking that for the cost end of things. And it changes with each event, so forth. But yes, funding's available, but logistically supplies as well.
so would we need to have prior approval for the funding on a request basis, or can we spend it based on, say, we need blankets or cots or something of that nature, and then go back and request reimbursement?
To my understanding, it's permissible because once we declare, that opens up the door where we don't have to do the bidding process and so forth, that we can just go out and handle the emergency, take care of, the citizens, the safety issues.
Keep your receipts.
Keep your receipts, yes. And that's where we've come together over, the decades here with emergency management, particularly weather disasters. We're keeping track of all that minutia. So we can put it together when they say you're eligible, put in for it, so we can get that reimbursement down the road. But as it's going on, if we don't have supplies, it's a great system that we could ramp it up if we don't have it. And we can go across the state and even federally to get stuff. Now, when we do that, it takes a longer haul to get stuff in. But yes, we're prepared and capable to do that.
Great, thank you.
Well, and I think, too, that's where all your documentation comes in, get the funding. When you and I took those tests 10 years ago.
I do remember.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah. That, it said about the documentation has to be right there. So you're documenting everything. Yeah.
Yes, and working closely with the finance department, people with the numbers, assuring that we capture the right data going through an event. There's those that are handling the emergency, but it's also important while it's happening to capture the data, the receipts. So we have the ability to put that all together and submit for reimbursement. So, yeah.
Gentlemen? No? Okay. Well, thank you both very much for your hard work and diligence on this and keeping us updated. I see this is a resolution. Is it appropriate for us to adopt that at this meeting?
Yes.
Okay. In which case, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2314, the Emergency Operations Plan reaffirmation?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Here we go. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We now need to take action to approve change order number 4 from Mackmore Construction LLC for the 2020 Lower Paxton Township Drainage Improvement Project. Mr. Gottschall, should that say 2022?
No,
well,
we would like it to, but unfortunately, this one's.
But we're still back on
lingered on
2020?
a little bit. Yes.
Okay.
This one had been going on for quite a while, if you may remember, due
We had a
to
disaster emergency back then, didn't we?
yes, supply
was
chain
going
issues.
on.
About that plan last time, 2020.
So this really just, the only thing this change order does actually is to extend the contract terms. It does not add any dollar value to the contract, so it's a good change order.
Okay. Any questions, board members?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Please go
That,
ahead.
We approve change order number 4 from Macmore Construction LLC, 2020 LPT Drainage Improvement Project as outlined on the public agenda.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye? Aye. And we need to take action on final application for payments number 8 and 9. This for the Heroes Grove Amphitheater Project Phase 3, the final phase, which
Yay.
Heroes Grove is now, after 21 years, completed.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the application for payments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the final application for payment 8 and 9 for the Heroes Grove Amphitheater Project Phase 3 in the amount of $9,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'd like to have a roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mrs. Lindsay,
Aye.
Mr. Zumas,
Recuse.
Mr. Judd,
Aye.
Mr. Navarro, Mr. Henry.
I recuse. So the motion passes 3-0 to 2 recusals. And the reason for that is Mr. Zumas and I both serve on the board of Heroes Grove, Inc., so there's no question relative to a conflict of interest. We recuse ourselves from votes involving Heroes Grove. That having been said, I see no further items. Are there any announcements, board members?
I know we're only in the middle of July, but please put on your calendar for August 1st, National Night Out from 5 to 8 at George Park, and everybody is welcome.
And then we would want to move our Board of Supervisors meeting to Wednesday of that week so that supervisors can participate in National Night Out, which is every year a huge community celebration, so we'll look forward to that. Hopefully the police dogs will be there once again. Any other announcements?
Yeah, and I'll be spending my birthday with you guys at National Night Out.
Oh, well, we'll have to.
What a way, right?
We'll have to bake you a cake.
Now we got to get her a gift.
Now we got to get her a gift. There
My
you go.
gift is sitting here with you guys.
Be ill here. I think it might be appropriate to adjourn the meeting at this point. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.